Hi, folks. Thanks for viewing this presentation. It's going to be a delightful time on Christmas cruising on the Danube. And as in the past, this presentation is being recorded and will be on the CARP travel website shortly. So a little bit on ourselves, AlmonTravel, association with CARP. We've been in business since 2003, so about 18 years, 2 years before I retired from teaching. We, of course, can do FITs, which is individual bookings. So anybody interested in traveling as a couple or a very small group, family, that sort of thing, we certainly can do that. But we have our specialties, as most travel agencies do. One of our specialties is destination weddings. We've done 130 Caribbean destination weddings across Canada. That translates into a lot of experience in booking groups. And certainly that's one of the things that we specialize in, and we will be developing a number of groups with CARP when travel becomes safe again to do. Extended Florida family trips with a focus on theme parks. That's another specialty. We have made it a point over the years to visit the theme parks in Florida and are very comfortable and familiar with them. So we can help you with family vacations or extended family vacations there as well. Ocean cruises, we have tried to personally experience a number of the popular itineraries for our ocean cruises so that we can speak from experience when you want to do the same and be able to help you, of course. River cruises is our major specialty. We've done 10 different river cruise itineraries around the world, including Europe, Egypt, China, Vietnam, even on the Mississippi. So our experience, on many of these itineraries also will be very helpful to you when you are thinking about planning a river cruise. Of course, travel conditions that we're experiencing right now getting better week by week. We don't know when things will open up for us. That's going to be, I guess, probably up to the government of Canada to make some decisions on that. But we do see a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's getting brighter as weeks pass with the vaccinations that are rolling out in Canada and around the world. That, of course, in my opinion anyway, is going to be probably the key to the travel world opening up for us. But we still have a ways to go there too, because we have to abide by rules of the different countries in the world that we travel to. So it's just a question of biding our time and waiting. I can certainly use your help in promoting these presentations. They occur every Tuesday at 6:30, and a wide variety of topics, but and right now we are looking into mid-June, every Tuesday into mid-June for different presentations. So, but if you have anything in mind that you think might be of interest to the traveling public, I'd be happy to research that, see if we can add it to our list. So my connection with CARP is through Bill Van Gorder, who is the COO and Chief Policy Officer for CARP National, as well as the founding chair for CARP Nova Scotia, in addition to being the senior spokesperson for CARP in the Maritimes. Bill and I go back probably 4 or 5 years, where I worked on one of his charitable foundations called 100 Men Who Give a Damn, raised over $400,000, all of which went to the charitable foundations that applied. So I'm very proud of that. Bill got to know me as I was working on the board with him. He booked a couple of trips, including a river cruise in Europe and a Rocky Mountaineer in the Canadian Rockies. And as a result of the service that we gave him, he asked us if we would like to be the official travel agency for Nova Scotia. And of course, we said yes. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Marcus Leskovar, who's the Executive Vice President for Amadeus River Cruises, who will be giving us a view of a typical, if there's such a thing as a typical Danube cruise, but with a twist. He's going to be talking about a Christmas market cruise. He'll also spend a little bit of time talking about the Rhine in Flames cruise option, as well as the Floriade Expo in 2022. So Marcus, if you're ready, please take it away.
Well, thank you very much, Danny. Thank you very much for tuning in and for giving us your time this evening. So I prepared a few slides here just to introduce you to who we are and what we have to offer, and what makes us a little bit different to some of the things that you may already know out here. As you can hear by my accent, we are an Austrian company, so we are Europeans, essentially working in our own backyard. And I think that's one of the things that makes us appealing to a lot of people. You know, we provide a very authentic and immersive product. We are also the pioneer in European river cruising. We've been around for 40 years, and we have started river cruising on European rivers originally, bringing Austrians through the Balkans down to the Black Sea to vacation. And it's really how river cruising started, and started from there 40 years ago. As I mentioned before, we've got decades of destination knowledge, working in our own backyard, and sharing our traditions and history with our passengers. We have a crew and staff that has been with us for a very long time, and we are still a family-owned company. So that's important to us. That enables us to just provide a certain atmosphere on board, and you'll feel that when you come cruise with us. It's a very intimate and friendly atmosphere on board. Just because we're 40 years old doesn't mean that our ships are. As a matter of fact, we have one of the most modern fleets on the European rivers, with an average age of only 2.5 years. And we'll talk a little bit about those vessels just in a little while here. You probably are familiar with river cruising, and probably have heard of different river cruise lines out there. And the ultimate question always is, well, what's unique? What makes you different? And from the outside, these ships all look a little bit like floating shoeboxes, and then it's why they're all of the same size and dimension. They have to pass through the same locks, so everyone, pretty much that's the reason why they're all similar in size. But there's a big difference still from cruise line to cruise line, and some of the things that makes us unique are we are a ship owner and operator. So although there is a lot of river cruise ships, about a little bit over 300 just on the stretch between Amsterdam and Budapest, there's only a handful of actual ship owners on there. We are one of them, and we have been for a long time. As I mentioned before, we have 40 years of river cruise expertise, and those 40 years translate in a lot. How these ships are built, all the different features that we offer on board the vessel, the hospitality, of course, the knowledge of the rivers and the destinations. So all of that figures into our product. And then, as I said, we are Europeans, providing authentic itineraries, excursions, and experiences in our own backyard. A lot of companies that you see are marketeers that are coming from abroad. There's a lot of US companies, there's Brits, there's Australians, all trying to show you Europe. But if you go there, it'd be good to do it with Europeans, and therefore have a more immersive experience. Also, we are proud about our Austrian hospitality, with a focus on good food, wine, Gemütlichkeit, the atmosphere on board. Of course, that's really important to us. As I mentioned before, we're a family-owned company, and you really can feel that on board. And what is also important, we provide unbundled pricing and are highly customizable. Again, a little bit different from some of our competitors out there that include everything. We don't, but just because something is included doesn't mean it's free. It's actually that's never the case. But so with us, you have a little bit of the opportunity to customize your cruise if you want to. If you would like to have everything included, we can do that. But if you don't, then you don't have to pay for the items that you don't need or don't want. So we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but this is just a few of the highlights that make us a little bit different. And before we get into the itinerary that Danny already mentioned, I just want to go through one of the ships with you. As I mentioned, as a ship that you can see here, we call this a silver class ship. It's 135 meters long, and it's about the standard size of a river cruise vessel in Europe. This ship, for example, would be the exact same dimension as a Viking longship. No different. The big difference is that, for example, a Viking ship has about 200 people on there. We have only 160, which translates in a lot less cabins, less passengers, larger cabins, and public areas that other cruise lines sometimes don't have. So those are the big differences. Just in summary, we are a premium line, 5 stars. However, also here, do your exercise in I know Danny will help you with that in comparing values when you shop for river cruise. That's really important. I said before, we are a European company, European pricing. A lot of our colleagues, especially out of the US, ask for a US premium. Prices are about 30 to 35% higher for the same product. Customary, but so look at the pricing, compare the inclusions. Again, you will see with us a really good value for the premium category. Again, the length of our vessels are between 110 and 135 meter. Always with 4 decks, passenger counts 140 to 168, depending on the vessel, with about 46 crew. And we build a ship every year, as I mentioned before. Average age is about 2.5 years, but we have built a ship every year. Also last year in 2020, we built the Amadeus Imperial that we brought online. And then the next ship comes out in 2022, the Amadeus CARP. But if you can see here from these pictures, the ships are all European style, modern European, contemporary European, and it's what you can find on board. Very comfortable, elegant, and that's how they're all laid out. Here, when we have the next slide, our deck plan. All of the ships essentially are laid out in the same way, have the same general arrangement on board. And just to point out some of these public areas that really make us unique, especially if you compare it to some of the river cruise products that you may know. So restaurant is single seating restaurant always. The nice thing is that this ship here that you can see can accommodate 162 people. The restaurant is geared for 185. So even if the ship is full, you never have to hunt for the last chair or the last table. There's always more space than passengers fit on the vessel, which is nice and relaxing. And there's always a possibility for 2 and 4 tops as well. Then we have one deck above. We have the panorama bar, so that's the central focal point usually for people to come. We have presentations there. There's a breakfast option, an additional lunch option, entertainment until late in the evening. Again, panorama bar and lounge can accommodate up to 192 passengers. Again, there's always space. Then we have our Amadeus Club here in the back. That section always changes a little bit. Sometimes there's a pool in the back, sometimes there's a wine bar, sometimes it's a very elegant lounge area. So that's always a little bit of a surprise on new vessels, what we do there. But it's a great place to just come relax, and there's also 24-hour coffee and tea service back there. Then we have hailing to our Austrian heritage, the Café Vienna in the middle that offers coffee specialties and cakes. Then we have our river terrace here up front, and you can see this here. So this is an open air area that's glass shielded, and we offer bar service there as well. But it's a great place to see, relax, and just see the landscape going by as the ship cruises. Then we have our sun deck. So that's true for every cruise ship or for every river cruise ship out there. Sun decks have to be completely, everything on there has to be completely collapsible. So you see that the furniture out there, you know, everything is can't be fixed, has to be light, has to be collapsible. And the reason is because river cruise ships have to go underneath bridges a lot of times, depending on the water level. Sometimes there's only a few inches left between the ship and the bridge, and so it's important to be as nimble as possible and to flatten everything, including the bridge that's sometimes on stilts and is on a hydraulic lift that can retract the bridge. So that's the sun deck here. Sometimes on our ships we have an extra pool deck in the back that's on a half deck. So we have that, for example, on our ship on the Rhine in the south of France, where it's nice and warm. There's an infinity pool back there. And then every ship has a gym and a mini spa with massage facilities, a hairdresser, a gift shop, bicycles on board that we can take off the ship for you, and an elevator that serves all passenger decks. So that's important as well, goes through all the 3 passenger decks. So that's some of the public features that you can find on board of every our vessels. Then here you can see here the cabins and the different categories, really. So we have starting from the Mozart deck. So there is A1 and suite cabins. We'll go into the details in just a little bit, but just so you know where these cabins are located. So that's on the top deck. Then on the middle deck we have our B1 and B4 cabins, and then on the Haydn deck lower the C4 and C1 cabins. So on that deck, the Haydn deck, because you have the waterline down there, windows cannot be opened, but you'll see this in a second. So those are the 3 different passenger decks. Now we're going to look at the cabins really quick, so you can see what to expect product-wise in the different categories. So this is the lowest category, category C1 or C4. The difference between a C1 and C4 is really only where the cabin is located on the deck. C4 cabins are a little bit farther to the rear. C1 cabins are closer to the front. You can see here the window here. This is the windows that you have in this category. Again, it's a fixed window, can't be opened, and it's an upper window because you have the waterline there. But it's a great cabin at 172 square feet. It's one of the largest entry-level cabins in the industry, and it comes with a choice in bed configuration, individual climate control, in-room safe, direct tile telephone, a hairdryer, infotainment system with preloaded content and satellite TV, generous bathroom that you can see here, stocked with high quality bath products from Rituals. And then also what we have in this cabin, we have family, or in this type, we have family cabins available. So those are connecting cabins. So this is good then up to triple and quadruple occupancy. The nice thing is that when we have a family here, kids, and those are travelers 18 years and younger, will receive a 30% kids discount or children's discount. And then also important to know is that if you take kids, rule on European waterways is that children 18 and younger cannot stay in a cabin by themselves or with a passenger of the same age. And so if you have a family of 4 with 2 kids, the parents theoretically would need to split up in room with one of the kids. So the family cabins are here to avoid that, you know, you still can have your privacy because it's a connecting door. These cabins are also great for single travelers because single surcharge in this category is only 15%, which is a great lead-in price. And these cabins are also good for travelers that travel with a travel companion that needs assistance. So I've seen a lot of people with their elderly parents or parent, and they like these cabins as well because they can just keep an eye on their travel companion. So keep that in place. Keep this in mind. Special category for families, single travelers, and it's just a great value and a good cabin. So next category up is the B category. So that was the middle deck, the green cabins, if you remember. Again, the difference between 1 and B4 would be where the cabins are located on the deck. B4 a little bit closer to the back, closer to the engines, where you could get a little bit vibration or engine noise. B1 are farther up, and then the A1 cabins is the same cabin type and size, just on the top deck. That's the difference. Otherwise, it's a stateroom with 188 square feet, has the same features than the C cabin, and what you get on top of it is this huge panoramic window here, and that window can drop down with a push of a button about halfway down, and you can open up the cabin like you have a balcony, and then let the sun and air in. And then in addition, you have a walk-in closet, which is a really, really nice feature, and a large bathroom. And so some of you may think, or may ask, well, you know, where are the balconies? And so we don't have balconies for the most part. And the reason is because over cruising 40 years, we've done away with them, because we found out that balconies on European rivers are not ideal. They eat up a lot of space. So if you can see the cursor here, this would be about 30 to 40 square feet here. This is where your balcony would be. And there's 3 reasons really why you don't need the balconies. So first reason is it's Europe. It's not always sunny and warm. Sometimes it's a little rainy, so you don't sit out on the balcony. The second reason is when we cruise during the daytime, we do scenic cruising. So we go, for example, from on the Middle Rhine, from Koblenz to Rüdesheim, where you have the largest accumulation of castles anywhere in the world. And when we cruise through that stretch, you may want to be on the sun deck, where you have a 360-degree view. If you sit on your balcony, you're going to miss half of it. And the third and probably most important reason is that it doesn't matter which cruise line you are, or doesn't matter which ship you are, you will have, in the majority of the river ports, have to raft or dock next to another river cruise ships. And when that happens, if you have a cruise ship next to you, or even if you're sandwiched in between 2 other cruise ships, again, you're not going to be able to use the balcony. So that's why we decided to move that cabin out, create a larger cabin, install these full panoramic windows. And again, if you'd like to open the cabin up, you can push the curtains aside, lower the window, and sit right here, and you have, you know, sunlight and air. And at the same time, you get a larger cabin with a large balcony and with a walk-in closet. So it really worked well, and passengers just really appreciate this feature. The next type up, last cabin type here, is the suite. So that's a large cabin on the Mozart deck, 284 square feet. That has a little step-out balcony here. It also has a corner sofa, yet a larger bathroom, a little bit larger bar area, and then of course the walk-in closet again. Those are great cabins, very spacious, and also come equipped with bathrooms and slippers in the bathroom. So those are all our different categories that we offer on board the vessels. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room with COVID and the pandemic. So we have a health and safety protocol on board our vessels that we tested. We were one of the very few cruise lines that operated last year in 2020. We operated from July to October with about half of our fleet. And early into the pandemic, we hired our own epidemiologist and created a health and safety protocol that you can request. I'm sure if you ask Danny can send you a copy of that. It's quite a few steps to it, and all encompassing. But if you're interested in what we're doing, you know, we'd be more than happy to provide you with a copy. But the most important thing is, by applying this health and safety protocol, we were able to keep all of our passengers last year healthy and safe on all of our cruises. So that's important. We received a proof of concept, and there's just a couple of other things that reasons that make river cruises safe and a good choice overall. First of all, river cruise ships are smaller. They have significantly less people compared to an ocean cruise ship, and therefore can be easily monitored and cleaned and just managed. And especially true for our cruise ships are that there is a very low passenger density on board. As I mentioned before, just because we have less passengers, less cabins, more public space, which allows for proper social distancing. There's no inside cabins, everything's ventilated to the outside. And then also on European rivers, you're never far from shore. So we are never in international waters. We never have to request entry into a port in order to offload a passenger. If we have to, we can at any time go onto a pontoon, basically pull over and disembark a passenger or get medical supplies or medical personnel on board if we have to. So that's big difference to ocean cruise ships. Also, we have pre-cruise screenings that we do. We have rapid COVID-19 tests on board. If someone should fall ill during a cruise or should show symptoms of eventual COVID during a cruise, we can test that person immediately. We have a quarantine area on the ship, and we would quarantine that passenger and then immediately in rapid succession offload and disembark the passenger, get them to a facility that can care for them, but we wouldn't harbor the passenger on board, therefore eliminating the chance that other people can get infected and by housing people or by quarantining people that are sick on board. So that's important and really big differences to ocean-going vessels. So just keep that in mind. But again, we feel pretty comfortable to start our season whenever that's going to be this year by adhering to what we've already tried last year and keeping passengers healthy. And then, of course, question always is, what's the update in Europe? What do you think? When can we start cruising again? As of this day, there is no specific date yet. You may have heard, Europe is a little bit behind North America when it comes to vaccinations. And so although there's a light at the end of the tunnel and things are going in the right direction with the vaccine being available and people starting to get vaccinated, we don't have a clear timeline yet for entry into the EU without the requirement of quarantine. You can, of course, go in and out of the EU, but with quarantine right now. So we're monitoring once that requirement is lifted, probably sometime this summer. But we'll keep you updated, and of course, Danny will know as well once it's good for a vacation again. Then also, in response to the pandemic, what we offer right now, we offer our Carefree protection program for all new bookings. So what that does, it will allow you to change your booking for any reason up to 28 days before departure. So if you book any cruise now, you can up to 28 days prior to departure, you can move that booking or alter it, change it without incurring any change or cancellation fees. So this is just a little bit of protection for you. And then the inclusion. So we talked about the cabins, we talked about the ships, but what do we include with a river cruise? So we include all dining on board. So that consists of 2 breakfasts, an early riser breakfast, full breakfast in our restaurant with cooked to order eggs, free-flowing red, white wines, beer, soft drinks with lunch and dinner on board. And of course, we have 2 lunch options. There's a full sit-down lunch, 4 courses, multiple choices per course, and then a quick lunch option, soup, salad, sandwich buffet in our panorama bar. Then in the afternoon, we have coffee and tea service with cakes and sandwiches, and a 5-course dinner, again with multiple choices per course, a late night snack, 24-hour coffee and tea station in the Amadeus Club. We offer cocktail reception, welcome farewell dinners, captain's gala dinners, special onboard entertainment programs, including talks, lectures, cooking demonstration, and of course we have musical performances on board. We have a musician group on board, resident musicians on board of every vessel. Sometimes we bring on local entertainment as well. Bottled waters in every staterooms is included, that is replenished daily. Then of course complimentary use of all onboard facilities as the gym, the pools, and the bicycles. So that's included Wi-Fi on board and in the cabins as well, including port taxes and port charges are as well. So there's nothing that comes on top of that. Common denominator on board always is English. So first language on board is English. As about 45% of our passengers are from North America, and then the rest are international. You know, they can be from the UK, from Australia. There's a lot of Europeans on board as well, but about 45% of our passengers are North American. So it's an international mix, like you would find in any fine 5-star hotel anywhere in the world. But again, what it's nice, it loosens it up a little bit. And also, you know, you get the chance to cruise with locals. So that's something that's nice too. So it's not, you know, you're not cruising in a bubble, but it's very much, as I mentioned before, a really immersive and authentic experience. Some of the features that we have, again, benefits are single surcharge at only 15%, family cabins with 30% discount for children. And then, of course, we have our Amadeus Cruiser Club with benefits and perks for frequent cruisers, and then optional features that we can add on top of the cruise. And all the items that we include that we just went through would be shore excursions, transfers, prepaid gratuities, and then we have a highlight dinner, which is a fine dining option. Everything else is really included. So between transfers and shore excursions, you can add. A lot of times people like to do their own shore excursions, or to do their own thing for the shore excursions, or just don't want to sit on the bus twice a day. We can provide both. You can select between a wide variety of different shore excursions, or you can decide to wait until you're on the ship, add it there, or plan yourself. If you've been to Vienna, for example, already, and you've done the city tour and now would like to just spend time by yourself to go to see one of the museums or to go sit at a cafe, perfectly fine. You won't need to charge, you won't need to pay for a shore excursion that you're going to miss instead of that. So again, very much customizable, but then it can guide you through all of our features and different shore excursion possibilities, if you're interested and like to know more. So now we're moving to the destination part a little bit. So we'll see where we're cruising, and then we'll highlight some of the cruises that Danny mentioned at the opening here. So as you all can see, this is a map of Europe with our river system on there. Let me just animate this really quick to show you. But we're all over Europe essentially. So anywhere between Amsterdam and the Black Sea. So this is one of the highlights. I'll talk just in a little bit here, the Danube Delta, which is unique. So we cruise all the way down there to the Black Sea, and then of course on the Danube between Passau and Budapest, and then all the way from Basel on the Rhine, on the Moselle up to Amsterdam, to the Dutch waterways. That's how we start our season usually, 7-night round trip Amsterdam for the tulip time. Then we're on the Seine in France, a 7-night round trip cruise from and to Paris. And then in the south of France, we have a 7-night cruise round trip Lyon that is for Burgundy and Provence, which is also very much sought after. So those are all the rivers that we operate. So between the highlighted rivers here, there is 28 different itineraries that we do every year. Again, starting usually in March, in April with the 7-night round trip cruises Amsterdam, you know, all the way to across Europe cruises that are 14 nights from Amsterdam to Budapest, 16-night cruises from Passau here all the way to the Danube Delta and back. And then of course we end the season with our Advent and Christmas market cruises, again hailing to our heritage here. This is really special because we share, you know, we share our traditions with our passengers, and we have 2 itineraries that we do. One of them is from Vienna to Nuremberg or back on the Danube, and one of them is on the Rhine between Cologne and Strasbourg. So those are the 2, and we'll get into this in just a minute here. But just to give you an idea here, 28 different itineraries within Europe. So then here's our first highlight here. That's the Advent on the Danube. So those are 6-night, 7-day cruises. And as I mentioned and showed you on the map before, they go from Nuremberg to Vienna or vice versa. And it's a really interesting cruise, and has been becoming more popular in recent years. It's also very popular this year, believe it or not. A lot of people, we got the majority of bookings actually during the Christmas season in 2020 for this year, 2021. People looking forward to celebrate again. But it's a great itinerary. You know, people always think it's extremely cold. Not true. It's quite pleasant. You know, temperatures will hover in the 30s, sometimes a little bit warmer, but it's great to walk around. You have all these Christmas markets that you can see here, and again, it's very much an Austrian and German tradition. Again, what we do as locals, we showcase these traditions and provide an authentic and immersive experience by serving you, or by you know, making available local dishes that we as Austrians like to cook during the holiday season. We have pop-up Christmas markets on the sun deck where we share traditional recipes for Glühwein, for example, with our passengers. We talk about our Christmas traditions in our onboard lectures and talks, onboard talks. So we're really trying to share this very special time of the year, our traditions and history with our passengers that are really enjoying to coming with us during this time. And so here, for example, here's an itinerary for this cruise. So it's really nice. We start either in Vienna or in Nuremberg. You have great Christmas markets and multiple Christmas markets in Vienna, for example, that you can see. Nuremberg, of course, with Europe's almost most important Christmas market, you know, which is really interesting. And so if you look at the routing Nuremberg-Vienna, so you start in Nuremberg. Nuremberg is great to go in and out of. If you fly in, for example, you can fly into Frankfurt or Munich and then get on a connection flight. They leave about every hour. It's about 20-25 minutes from Munich or Frankfurt to Nuremberg. So good service in and out of there. Then, you know, usually we start with the Christmas market. That's really a highlight. Then we go over the continental divide, going into Regensburg. So Regensburg, Bavaria here, also very traditional with the Christmas market of Turnentaxis. The Turnentaxis family is a royal family, one of the royal families here in Austria and Germany. So they open up their palace. They have like a little Christmas market that they put up around their grounds, and so very interesting to see that. There's also a little brewery there that you can go and just taste their beer a real treat. Then we go on to Passau, see the Christmas market of Passau there, and then we cross into Austria and go into the Wachau Valley right here with Emmersdorf and Melk. And the Wachau Valley is Austria's most famous wine growing region. So that's where we really introduce our passengers to the Glühwein. If you don't know where this Glühwein is, that's our almost national drink during the holidays. As Austrian, it's a hot, mild wine that can be found anywhere in Austria. And so we share the recipe with you. Of course, it's something that you can find on Porte Wessel at any time. Really nice when it's a little bit colder, really warms you up. And it's delicious too. And then, so we're going to Vienna, doing a classical concert there. And then, of course, we see a few different Christmas markets there. So there's a nice Christmas market at the Schönbrunn Palace, and then right in front of City Hall, and a few smaller Christmas market that you can stroll to. So it's really a nice time of year, and also very, very popular with multi-generational group, where the grandparents go and they invite, you know, the grandkids and the whole family. So it's really something that became almost a tradition to a lot of our passengers already, and their families. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, we have space for this year and quite a lot of interest as well. And so here's something also, you know, we always talked about value at the beginning of this webinar here. So I just want to show you what that translates to. So the prices that you see here are US dollars. We also have that available in Canadian dollars, but I somehow neglected to put the right pricing on here currency wise, but just so you know, so these are US dollars. And so again, you know, C1 and C4 cabins. So these are, if you remember, these are the entry-level cabins. You know, generous at 172 square feet, single surcharge only 15%. So these are great prices. And if you remember from all the things that are included, it's a really good deal. And then shore excursions, we talked about those too. So here you can see this is the individual pricing of these excursions. And then if you book them in advance, we offer discounts. So we have 3 packages that we offer. So, you know, some, most, and all included. If you book in advance, we take 15% off, and then you have these reduced package rates. So from 113 to 281 US dollars in that case. So if you look at that, you know, then if you add that to your cruise price, knowing that taxes and fees are already included, and then you compare it with some of the other alternatives out there, you will see this is a really, really good value, you know, for a premium cruise. So just to share that with you. Then we a little bit of a highlight in the Rhine in Flames. Again, you know, coming back to our, you know, essentially operating in our own backyard and being very, very familiar with the local traditions and festivities. That's really a staple of what we offer. You know, we essentially offer you an insight and you know, a special experience, you know, when you cruise with us. And so one of the unique things is the Rhine in Flames. If you've never heard about it, it is a fireworks festival that takes place along the Rhine. And every year there's different municipalities or villages that take place in this festival. There's maybe a handful of different villages that will organize that. But it is a massive fireworks spectacle along the river banks, as you can see here from the pictures. And then in conjunction with this, there is a boat parade. You can see this right here. And so, you know, larger boats sign up to be in the parade, and the boat is completely decorated with lights. And you know, as passengers, you'll take a part of this, not in decorating the ship, but just enjoying it and being on the sun deck. And then, you know, we cruise at night. We cruise together with all the other boats in a flotilla here through the fireworks display. next year we are in Oberwesel, that's in the middle Rhine. I mentioned it before, that's the stretch of the Rhine with the most accumulation of castles anywhere in the world. And it's from September 8 to 15, 2022. So it's part of a regular Rhine cruise from Basel to Amsterdam. And for this specific itinerary, the itinerary is a little bit different because we position the ship to take part in the flotilla during the firework display, and then we continue with the regular cruise. So very, very interesting. So we have special itineraries like that. Again, you should take advantage of that, cruise with us and get the local insight on a lot of these things. So Rhine in Flames, and the last itinerary that I'm going to highlight is the Danube Delta. I mentioned it before as well. It's our legacy itinerary, really. The Danube Delta is, if you haven't heard about it, or if you're not really familiar with it, it's the third largest biosphere, third largest diversified biosphere in the world, after the Great Barrier Reef and the Galapagos Islands. And there is more flora and fauna to be found in the Delta than in the Amazon, for example. And so you have a plethora of wild birds, there's wild horses. It's a very secluded area that has no roads in there. You really only can get in there by boat. And during the summer, during the winter, this is very much difficult to go there. But it is just a very, very interesting area that not a lot of cruise lines venture into, because you have to have your own infrastructure in order to supply the ships in there. We have that infrastructure. As a matter of fact, this, as I mentioned before, our legacy itinerary, that's how we started. That's how river cruises were created in Europe. With the Iron Curtain there between Austria and from Austria east. When I grew up, it was almost impossible to go east, either to the Black Sea. Very difficult by motor coach, and really undesirable on the roads that were there at that time. Train journey wasn't that pleasant either, going through the Balkans. So 40 years ago, my boss Wolfgang Lüftner, looked into the possibility of chartering a ship and bringing Austrians down through the Balkans to the Black Sea by ship. And it's what he did. So we initially chartered an old Russian ship, the Old Denitsa, to go from Vienna to the Black Sea, and that's how it started out. Of course, ships at that time weren't as comfortable as the ships that you have today. So a long journey for 40 years in really defining river cruising and developing river cruising. And as I mentioned before, we learned a lot, and the ships that you see today carry the innovation of 40 years with them. But that's our legacy itinerary, something that we do very well and something that we're very proud of. So we have our own, you can see here these excursion boats. We have our own fleet of excursion vessels. If you've ever been to the Amazon, similar experience. We have these excursion vessels, and we'll take people out into the Delta to bird watch, to see the wild horses, and to really go into a nature safari. We also take the ship out into the Black Sea. That's always the big ceremony. So we go into kilometer 0 of the Danube, go out into the Black Sea, and turn around and go back into the Danube. So it's a highlight. There's different itineraries available. There's 10, 11, and 16 days. So the 16-day itinerary would be a round-trip itinerary from Passau down to the Delta and then coming back. But there's also shorter itineraries available, 10 and 11 nights. We call them 1,200 miles. And those would be one-ways, either from Vienna to Bucharest or from Bucharest to Vienna. And then with that cruise, we include one night in Bucharest and with a night at a hotel there. So it's easy for people to get in and out. Also, if you're interested to discover Transylvania, it's a great opportunity to add a day or two before or after the cruise to see some of the castles in Transylvania. It's a great cruise for someone who has been to Europe already and now is ready to get a little bit deeper into it. So, you know, you still have Vienna in there, you still have Budapest in there, you go through the Balkans, you know, a lot of countries that usually probably you don't go to. And then here you have the Delta, which is probably something you haven't seen before. So keep that in mind, a lot of unique itineraries that you can explore together with us. And then just two highlights before I end here. So next year, 2022, there's two events that only happen every 10 years. So one is the big flower expo, Floriade, in the Netherlands, in Aalsmeer, just outside of Amsterdam. We've got two itineraries that include a visit to the Floriade. So it's some of our tulip cruises early next year in April and May, and then also our classical Rhine cruises, 7-night cruises between Amsterdam and Basel, or vice versa. So that's a highlight. And then, of course, Oberammergau, the Passion Play, was supposed to take place in 2020, has been pushed back to 2022, and we have pre-cruise packages, 2-night packages available that combine with some of our Danube cruises from Passau to Vienna, or with a Rhine cruise again from Basel to Amsterdam. So you could theoretically combine both events, the Floriade and the Oberammergau Passion Play, with a Rhine cruise, if you'd like to. But Danny has more information on that. Thank you very much for your time and for letting me present different options here, and then I'll turn it back to Danny.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Really want to thank you, and also Kate Hansen, who worked in the background to help put this together. Excellent information passed along, very, very enjoyable. I do have a couple of comments that I made just or jotted down as the presentation went through. First of all, a question on a Christmas cruise, the River Terrace, which is open, and the swimming pool, are both of those usable in the winter, or are they closed down?
Yeah, so the pool on the ships that are deployed on the Rhine, Main, and Danube are inside pool. So they have sunroofs, and they have sunroofs that can be opened if it's warm, but obviously in the winter there's closed. But yes, so if a ship is equipped with a pool, the Amadeus Queen, for example, yes, that pool can be used. And then on the river terrace up there, so we usually have the blankets. You know, that it's nice, you know, you sit there with a blanket, and as I mentioned before, we've got the Glühwein. So between the blanket and the Glühwein, you should be perfectly fine to last for quite a while out there.
Okay, good, thank you. I just again a few comments. Every cruise, folks, and based on my experience, and we've done quite a few of them, it has similarities and differences. For example, southern France, which we've done, the distance to drive between Lyon and Arles is 5 hours. Yet there's a 6 or 7 day river cruise that goes between those 2 points. So there's not a whole lot of emphasis on cruising there because the distances are so short. But for instance, in comparison with Budapest to Amsterdam, a tremendously long cruise. And one of the things I liked about that was that there was lots of time to be able to sit up in the top deck and watch what went on, you know, what went by you as you cruised around each corner of the river. Very different from an ocean cruise, where when you get out on the balcony, what you see is ocean, unless you get into ports and enjoy that. So the Danube during the summer, and I've only experienced that myself. So this Christmas cruise presentation by Marcus has been very enlightening. But you know, even though you may be going along the same itinerary in the summer as you would in the winter, the fact that the season has changed would make for, I'm sure, quite a different experience. So even if you did a similar itinerary in the summer and then chose to do it during the wintertime, I'm sure that you would enjoy the differences that you would experience in both of those. The fact that you have similar ships, perhaps even the same ships, once you travel on one, you get to know where things are. I know that whenever we've gone cruising, whether it's ocean or river cruising, it's always the first day or day and a half is trying to figure out where everything is on the boat. So so if you do one cruise, it certainly is very helpful to be familiarized with it if you do another cruise with Amadeus as well. 172 square feet for an entry-level cabin. That's amazing. What sticks out at my head for most cruise companies is about 154. And I won't say that that's cramped, but it certainly gives you all the space that you need. But to have that extra 20 square feet, I'm sure must be great. Family cabins. I don't know of too many, if any, cruise companies that offer connecting cabins on a river cruise ship. So that is a tremendous. And single surcharge of 15%. Very impressed with that as well. Difference in view. I've experienced that now as well on cruise ships. And you would think, water level, windows to look out. Well, you're looking right across the water. If that swan comes up, it's going to be right in your face. If you're on the second level, you're looking down on it. If you're on the third level, you're looking even further down on it. And so the angle of view can make a difference as well. So, certainly if you're saying, well, we'll just go in the least expensive cabin, it's all a question of looking at value and trying to figure out what extras you gain from perhaps taking a more elevated cabin level. So I had never heard of the Rhine in Flames until we had a chance to talk about this. Thank you very much for bringing that up. It's a one-time deal. It's only once a year, I guess. And so if that sounds like a fascinating cruise for you viewers, obviously very limited options to be able to go on that, and probably have to be booked fairly well in advance. The Danube Delta. You mentioned it, that it's typically used, that particular stretch from Budapest down to the Black Sea is typically considered to be a choice if you've already experienced the river cruise. Now, having said that, the experience that you would get with the Danube Delta could very well make this a very interesting first cruise option too. So these are just the things that I thought and picked up during your presentation, Marcus. I really enjoyed that. Now, I do want to talk about what's happening next week, Tuesday, March the 23rd at 6:30, same time every time. We have a presentation on Costa Rica, Central American country that for good reason is on lots of people's bucket lists for travel. We've actually been there, spent 2 weeks there in different parts of the country, so we have a pretty good idea of what to expect if you'd go to visit Costa Rica. So again, wholehearted thank you very much, Marcus, for your interesting and revealing presentation on a Christmas market river cruise with Amadeus.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time again.